She stops texting you for hours, maybe a full day. Your instinct is to reach out, to ask what's wrong, to fix whatever you broke. But here's what you don't realize. She's not upset. She's testing you. She's measuring whether you'll panic when her attention disappears. And if you do, if you double text, if you ask, is everything okay, you've just failed the first of 5 silent power tests she will run on you, whether she knows it or not. These tests are not games. They are not drama. They are evolutionary filters used to discard men who crumble under pressure. Every woman carries within her an ancient algorithm, not written in words but encoded in instinct, that separates the men who can hold ground from the men who collapse when the wind shifts. She does not know she is testing you. She only knows that something inside her relaxes when you pass, and something inside her dies when you fail. If you flinch, if you chase, if you explain, you fail. Your non-reaction is the only answer that proves you are a man of non-negotiable value whose frame cannot be bent by emotional pressure. These 5 tests follow a pattern. First, she tests your emotional independence by withdrawing her attention. Then she tests your security by introducing other men. Then she tests your stability by creating chaos. Then she tests your boundaries by demanding compliance. And finally, when you're closest, she tests your self-sufficiency by pulling away after intimacy. Each one is designed to find the same thing: a crack in your frame. And most men have cracks everywhere. But if you understand what she's looking for, you can become unbreakable. We will break down all 5, starting now. The first test is the vacuum of attention. She suddenly stops initiating. She takes hours to reply. She goes from warm to distant without explanation. You don't see the test because it's silent. She doesn't announce it. The test happens in her withdrawal. The power is in your response. And here is where most men destroy themselves. Not through what they do, but through what they imagine. They assume they have offended her. They replay every conversation searching for the moment they said too much. They treat her silence as a crime they committed but cannot remember. And so they confess. They double text. They apologize for things they didn't do. They fill the void with nervous energy and emotional panic dressed as concern. She creates a void to see if you will rush to fill it. The void is not the test. Your response to the void is the test. If you chase, you prove you are the one chasing. You reveal that your emotional equilibrium depends on her attention. And a man who unravels in her absence is not a man she can follow into the unknown. When you text again and again, asking what's wrong, begging for response, you are not communicating care, you are communicating need. And need, when it begs to be fed, becomes servitude. She does not want a servant, she wants a sovereign. You may think you're being attentive, but what she sees is a man who cannot exist without her validation, a man who is afraid, and fear kills attraction faster than anything else. The sovereign response is brutal in its simplicity. Mirror the silence perfectly. Do not punish, do not ask. Simply exist in the void without flinching. Go about your life, build, create, move forward as if her silence is not a crisis but merely weather. Because that is what it is, weather, and weather passes when you don't chase. Something shifts inside her. Her anxiety spikes. She realizes you have moved on. She sees that you have a world outside of her, and in that realization, she moves toward you. The man who does not flinch in the void becomes the man she cannot forget. Not because he chased, because he refused to. Once she knows you won't chase her silence, she escalates. She tests your security against others. The second test is the phantom rival. She casually mentions another man, a coworker who made her laugh, an ex who texted out of nowhere. She watches your face when she says his name. She is checking if you view other men as threats to your position. The failed response is visibility, getting angry, becoming defensive, asking too many questions. Every one of these reactions broadcasts the same message. You believe you can be replaced. The moment you react to the phantom, you've already lost, because if you see him as competition, you have placed him on equal footing with you. You have lowered your own value to match his. You have told her that in your own mind, you are not incomparable. You are merely one of several. A man who truly knows his worth does not measure himself against phantoms. She does not want you to compete. She wants to see that competition is beneath you. That the mention of another man does not disturb your atmosphere. That even if she walked away, you would remain whole. Because if your world ends without her, you are not a partner, you are a hostage. The sovereign response is total indifference. Hear the name and react as if she mentioned the weather. Bored, unmoved, perhaps slightly amused, not hostile indifference, but genuine disinterest because you do not experience it as a threat. You are the prize. You are the destination. Other men are irrelevant. When you show no jealousy, you signal something profound. You view yourself as incomparable. You are not playing a game of comparison because comparison only exists for those who doubt their own value. And your lack of doubt becomes her certainty when she cannot make you jealous. She realizes jealousy won't work, so she changes tactics. She creates chaos. The third test is the manufactured crisis. You're having a good evening, you're laughing, and then she says, "You never asked me about my day." There's no context, no trigger, just chaos. And now you're supposed to fix it. This is not insanity. This is deliberate. She wants to see if her chaos can disturb your peace. She is testing the foundation. She needs to know if your emotional state can be hijacked by her emotions. If you become reactive, you have failed. A woman cannot respect a man whose emotional state is dictated by her temporary feelings. He is a mirror, and mirrors break under pressure. The failed response is engagement on her terms, trying to solve the problem, matching her energy with your own frustration, explaining that she is being irrational. Every one of these responses proves that she can destabilize you. And if she can destabilize you with a manufactured problem, how will you handle the true storms of life? The job loss, the illness, the tragedy. She is testing in miniature what she needs to know in magnitude. The sovereign response is observation without absorption. Watch the storm, but do not step into it. Offer no solution. Offer only presence. Remain calm, not as performance, but as nature. Let your stillness speak. Let your peace become the counterweight to her chaos. If it becomes disrespectful, walk away, not as punishment, but as preservation. You do not argue with weather. You do not explain yourself to thunder. You let her burn through the emotion without adding fuel to the fire. And when she sees that her waves break against you without moving you, something ancient in her relaxes. She learns that her emotions are waves, but you are the shore, unmoved by the tide. She will never thank you for this. She does not know she tested you, but something inside her grows quiet. Something inside her kneels before the man who did not flinch when she raged. If she cannot break your frame with chaos, she tries a subtler weapon, compliance. The fourth test is the compliance trap. She asks for small, unnecessary favors. She changes plans at the last minute to inconvenience you. She requests that you alter your schedule to accommodate her whims. These requests seem innocent, but beneath the surface, she is testing whether you will sacrifice your dignity to please her. If you jump through the hoop, she despises the dog she trained. Compliance is not kindness. Compliance is submission. When you cancel your plans to accommodate her every whim, when you bend your life around her convenience instead of holding your own shape, you are not being a good partner. You are being a servant. And servants are not desired. They are used. The failed response is automatic agreement, saying yes before you've considered whether you should, dropping your workout to pick her up when she could easily call a ride, canceling dinner with your friends because she suddenly decided she wanted you home. Every time you do this, you shrink, and she watches you shrink. She smiles when you comply, but something inside her dims. She despises the man who let her win so easily. The sovereign response is a polite but firm no. Not hostile, not punishing, just clear. You refuse to alter your path or your principles for her convenience. You do not explain yourself. You do not justify. You simply decline. You say no with the same ease you would say yes. Because your decisions are not weighted by fear of losing her, they are weighted by respect for yourself. Rejection of her control creates attraction. When you say no, when you hold your ground, she realizes something essential. She must fit into your life. You will not orbit her. And in that realization, she finds what she cannot find in the compliant man: respect, desire, the certainty that she is with someone worth following. The final test is the cruelest because it comes after you have surrendered. The post-intimacy recoil. Immediately after a moment of deep connection, after you've opened up, after you've made love, after the walls between you have dissolved, she pulls away. Physically, emotionally, without warning. She creates distance where there was closeness. She pulls back just as you lean forward. This is the ultimate test of your abundance mindset. She is checking if you are now hooked, if the intimacy has made you dependent. Because desperation after intimacy is the death of attraction. The man who becomes needy reveals that he was starving before it. The intimacy was not a gift, it was oxygen. The failed response is panic, grasping for reassurance, pulling harder when she pushes away, texting more when she responds less. Every one of these behaviors proves the same thing. You were not whole before the connection, and now you need it to survive. A man whose identity depends on her presence is a man she cannot fully respect. She needs to know that your sovereign value remains intact even after you have given yourself to her. She needs to see that the man who existed before the intimacy still exists after it, that the connection was beautiful but not necessary, that you enjoyed it but do not require it, that you can hold her with everything you have and then release her without trembling. The sovereign response is to let her go. Allow the distance to exist without trying to bridge it. Do not chase the intimacy. Do not mourn its temporary absence. Continue to live. Continue to move. Continue to be the man you were before she touched you. Fill your time with meaning. Return to your work, your training, your friends. Let the space be space. Do not fill it with explanations or anxious energy. When you don't chase, when you let the distance breathe, you prove something devastating. You prove you do not need her to survive. And that proof, that demonstration of self-sufficiency after vulnerability, makes your return to her inevitable. Not because you demanded it, not because you begged for it, but because she cannot forget the man who held her and then let her go without trembling. She cannot escape the memory of a man who loved her completely in the moment and then walked back into his own life without looking over his shoulder. You must be willing to let the connection die to prove you are alive without it. And in that willingness, in that terrible freedom, she finds something she cannot resist. A man who wants her but does not need her. A man who loves but does not collapse. A man whose frame remains whole even when hers crashes against it. These 5 tests are not malicious. They are not conscious cruelty. They are the filter through which she finds a man of substance. Every woman runs these tests whether she knows it or not, and every man is judged by his response. Most men fail. Most men chase the silence, react to the rival, engage with the chaos, comply with the demands, and panic when intimacy withdraws. Most men believe that love means responsiveness, that devotion means availability, that good partners explain themselves and prove their worth through endless emotional labor. But that is not what she wants. What she wants is what she cannot shake. What she respects is what she cannot move. What she follows is what walks ahead without turning around. Passing these tests is not about strategy. It's about becoming a different kind of man. A man who does not need her to feel whole. A man whose peace cannot be stolen. A man whose frame cannot be broken. That man does not pass tests. He transcends them. You did not lose her because you were cold. You kept her because you were the one thing she could not move. If you want to master these 5 silent power tests, and more importantly, how to pass them without trying, subscribe now. The real work begins when you stop chasing and start becoming the man who does not need to. She is waiting, not for your words, for your stillness.